FromSoftware has been a juggernaut in the difficult game space since Demon's Souls, proving that people still appreciate a challenge, even frustrating, time-consuming, soul-sucking challenges. And challenge is FromSoftware's bread and butter. Sekiro is the evolution of all of this, the culmination of each and every combat mechanic, enemy behavior, and struggle that were built upon in the SoulsBorne series. It also throws all of this out the window. You can't play this game like a SoulsBorne game. You learn that quickly when you start navigating around Ashina Castle. Yes, on the surface it doesn't appear to be much different. After all, you're still running around with a sword. But the difference is what makes Sekiro shine so much. It's what makes this game fresh and rewarding. It's what makes this game, this experience, stand out so much for me. The first thing that was noticeable to me was the cohesive story that Sekiro has. Unlike the SoulsBorne games, Sekiro tells a story about a main protagonist that is universal to every player, and has a cast of characters that you can interact with. The story also takes place in a real-life setting, that being Japan during the Sengoku period as war is going on for control of the Ashina lands. As the main player, you control the Wolf, an orphan boy found on the battlefield by an older shinobi named Al, and he trains you in the ways of the sword to become a shinobi yourself and follow the Iron Code. Many years later, Wolf has been tasked with protecting Kudo, the divine heir to the throne and possessor of the dragon heritage that grants the ability to conquer death. The climax of the intro has you fighting Genichiro, who's attempting to take advantage of the divine heir to create an immortal army, and he cuts your left arm off. You then wake up, thanks to the dragon's blood from Kudo, the shadows can now die twice, and in place of your left arm is a shinobi prosthetic that grants tools to aid in navigating the world and to use in combat. This is where the quest begins. Already, just in the intro, we are given much more story than any past FromSoftware game, at least presentation-wise. Sekiro doesn't require you to read every item detail or navigate to online wikis. Instead, you are able to understand the story through character dialogue and in-game moments, and I love that. I didn't dislike the old way, but the cohesiveness makes the story resonate in ways that past titles were lacking. This game introduces us into a world that isn't completely unlike the one we know, and gives us a vessel to go through that we haven't had before, a set protagonist. Wolf is the same character for every player, no choosing a class at the beginning and trying to make your guy as ugly as possible. Instead, Wolf gives us a universal character that all players can experience the story the way that FromSoftware wants a story to be told. Wolf is given characteristics. He is a quiet yet strong protagonist. He doesn't back down from a challenge, nor does he compromise his values. Well, depending on which ending you get. Most boss fights in this game have a reason, and the story helps form that. Some bosses are important characters to the story, and those fights are critical moments that matter, and can even give you choices that can completely change the course of your story. And I love that. I love the attention to detail. Do I side with Al and betray the vow I took to protect Kudo, or protect Kudo and slay the Al, the man who raised me and gave me a life? Moments like that couldn't happen without the game telling a straightforward story, and Sekiro is better for it. FromSoftware games have always been visually stunning. From the sheer scale and design of the Souls worlds, to the unique horror-esque themes of Bloodborne, we have always been treated to visually beautiful worlds. And while I love Dark Souls 3, to me it looked a little bit more dull than the previous entries. Now enter Sekiro. Holy shit. This game is beautiful. From the character design to the world you navigate, it's all stunning. The Japan landscape gives way to gorgeous mountains, providing a perfect landscape for an intense battle. My personal favorite location is the top of Ashina Castle, where you fight Genichiro for the first time since he sliced your arm off. This fight is cinematic. I love the fight in Dark Souls 2 DLC with Sir Alone, if I'm saying that right, and Sekiro feels like the evolution of this encounter. Going from fighting a samurai in a mirrored ballroom to now fighting on what feels like the highest point in Japan. The stakes feel high and the visual representation drives that point home. But that's not the only location in the game that is gorgeous. Honestly, nearly everywhere is jaw-dropping. The underground areas look about like what you'd expect, but the outside areas really shine. Senpu Temple and Sunken Valley both have a sense of scale that makes you feel small when navigating them. Whether it's hopping around, slashing monkeys, or grappling across canyons, it's all visually pleasing. To me, the Fountainhead Palace area is the most unique and mesmerizing. It feels like some sort of afterlife that has been ravaged with a flood, but that doesn't take away any beauty from the trees or architecture in the area. There's also something to be said for the quiet and calm field that, depending on your choices, could be the setting for both your first and final big battle. For the last fight of the game, placing it in a peaceful setting or one that you wouldn't think would be an arena for the final boss is a great choice and makes the fight really focus in on the two combatants. I haven't seen too many older samurai films, but Sekiro's inspiration from them is easy to see. Now, onto my favorite aspect of this game, the combat. Although it's more of a combat dance this time around. Sekiro is a FromSoftware game, so of course this combat was going to be good, but I didn't know it would be great. Miyazaki talks about his influence for combat in this game being the imagery of swords clashing. And it's easy to see just how strong that influence was. Rather than combat being about causing the most damage or attacking a weak spot, fighting in this game is all about aggressiveness, timing, and posture. Posture is a new mechanic here, and mastering that is what will take you from a struggling player to a true shinobi. Posture is the enemy's bar underneath the vitality bar. Your goal in pretty much every encounter will be to max out enemy posture to open them up for a death blow, whose icon will come to be your favorite pop-up. To max out posture efficiently, Sekiro requires you to play aggressive. The more hits and well-timed blocks you do, the posture meter will go up. Backing away or playing too passively will result in the meter going back down. Playing Sekiro like a SoulsBorne game will get you killed, and it takes a while to drill that idea into your mind. The reflexes of old Souls games are there, so part of the challenge is abandoning what you know to learn these new techniques. That aspect was exciting to me, having to learn a new concept in a game where I thought I would feel at home. Struggling against enemies only to sit back and learn their attack patterns and the timing for deflections, turning the battle from difficult to manageable and, at times, easy. The Shinobi prosthetic also enhances combat by providing unique ways to go about tackling different fights. Some bosses have a weakness to a certain prosthetic, so the game rewards you for trying different methods. The firecrackers were the most useful to me, but the umbrella was hands down my favorite. Blocking attacks with that made me feel like a true shinobi. Sekiro excels in making this game feel immersive, and the combat is a huge part of that. Nothing beats having a sword clash with an enemy and you both are reading each other's moves, trying to anticipate when and where the next hit will come from, and then things such as this happen. Reminded me of Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting in Revenge of the Sith. Boss battles become almost rehearsed dances after learning their movements, and the game is among my favorite games to just watch on Twitch and see the skills of other shinobis, especially speedruns. That's not to say that Sekiro isn't for newcomers, because it really is. Yes, it is intimidating at times, but not impossible to learn. Patience with yourself and dedication to learning the mechanics is all you need. Genichiro was the point of the game where it all came together for me, and I was able to see how the game was meant to be played. Honestly, I want combat like this in all my sword fighting games now, where I am rewarded for perfect deflections and perfect timing. It's hard to beat. Finally, we have the best thing about this game, which is not necessarily my favorite since the combat is, but it is the most important aspect of the game: the difficulty. Now, I'm not going to discuss the argument about difficulty, but strictly give my own thoughts about it and explain what it does for me. So if you disagree, that's okay, and I respect your thoughts, but here are my own. Sekiro, in my opinion, is one of the most challenging games that FromSoftware has ever made. There were times fighting the corrupted monk that made me want to chunk my controller out the window. Metaphorically, of course. Yes, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, and Bloodborne all are known for their difficulty, and are not easy games by any means. But even the most difficult of the SoulsBorne titles always have a secret backdoor method to get you through it: the multiplayer and summoning. Whether it's an NPC or an online sunbro, there's always the option to summon the help in the back of your mind. Now, sometimes that help isn't the best, but the option is still there. Sekiro throws that out the window and truly pits you as the player against the whole world. No summons, no multiplayer, only you, your katana, and the enemies in front of you. To make matters worse, you die enough times, and the game gives all NPCs in the world dragon rot, a sickness that slowly kills me. Which seems like a sort of way to mock you for dying multiple times, as if seeing the death symbol wasn't demeaning enough. But to counter that, the disease is curable, and the game will also offer unseen aid in an attempt to balance things out. Now for me myself, I found Sekiro to be challenging at first, pretty steady in the middle, and then the final boss being one of the most difficult bosses that I have ever fought. The first go around at least. I got the Immortal Severance ending, and fighting Genichiro and Sword Saint for my final duel was a battle that was truly challenging my sanity. But beating them made an overwhelming feeling of accomplishment rush over me. The 4 different phases, each one different than the last, provide a sort of suicide mission to end the game on. And that's honestly what makes this game, its looming difficulty. Without the difficulty, you don't get the reward. Without a challenge, you don't end the game any mentally different than when you started. There's no growth. Yes, you get the experience of beating a game, but if that game, a game about taking on the near impossible, never challenges you, then it's a hollow and shallow victory. Beating the Guardian Ape and Shinobi Owl and Sword Saint all felt like actual accomplishments because of what I endured to get to that moment. Every sword strike, block window, and dance pattern was learned through trial and error, and only through defeat and persistence can you hope to succeed, can you hope to learn. And that's what Sekiro's difficulty does that not many other games can do. It breaks the barrier between player and controller and brings those lessons into the real world. It teaches you something, and teaches you those things through the best way possible, through kicking your ass. Miyazaki, the game director for Sekiro and the SoulsBorne series, says it best. It's about accomplishment by overcoming tremendous odds. And I think that perfectly fits the theme for not only Sekiro, but the entire series. The Japanese title for this game is even We Will Endure. Things in life that are easy are pleasing in the moment, but don't offer any real accomplishment or growth. Things that are hard in life may not be pleasant or may seem impossible, but the rewards for overcoming and the growth you experience make the struggle all the more worth it. So all that to say that I love Sekiro. It may even be my favorite FromSoftware game that I have played. The setting, story, combat, and difficulty factor all come together to make a game that rises up and becomes something more than just a guy running around with a katana fighting bosses. Sekiro came to me as I was a student and left me, well, somewhat of a master.